Good evening and welcome in to Tornado Live, sponsored by Black Horse Pub and Brewery. This week's guests are the Alcoa 8U football team, Kent Johnson, and then Scott Dunkel and I will wrap things up talking about playoff football and what you have to expect moving forward. All right, hello friends, I'm Heath Dunkel alongside Scott Dunkel. And Scott, another incredible lineup this week coming off of a great win on Friday night. The Tornadoes keep things rolling as we move into the playoffs.
Yes, Heath, but even better than that, of course, Alcoa is going to win again. We know it. But now we've got a special guest with us tonight as well, who's got their own little dynasty starting.
Absolutely. So not only the high school team who's been successful this season, but we've got the younger Tornadoes that eventually will be up there with us doing their thing as well, as the 8U team and the 10U team won the Super Bowl this weekend. We've got the 8U team here tonight, and we're going to start off with their head football coach, Kent Johnson. Kent, thanks for joining us.
Oh, very welcome. Appreciate you having us.
Absolutely. Well, Kent, we're going to just dive on into this. The first question I have for you is let's rewind it a little bit. Let's start to the beginning of the season. You talked about how last season you were the assistant. This season you became the head coach. What made you want to come out and be the head football coach this year of this football team?
They reached out to me. I hadn't really planned on it, but I talked to some of the people in charge. They gave me a couple of really directives that they kind of wanted to focus on. One was getting the kids to love the game, making sure that two was bring the community together. And then, of course, with me, my priorities are always going to be to be a godly example for the children and to try to teach them how to be great young men as well as football players. And the win will take care of itself. So that, I told my wife, and we put about 20 hours a week, me and the assistant coaches, between watching film and scouting and game planning. And I told my wife, there's nothing else I can do with that 20 hours that can have more of a positive impact on the community than coaching these little kids.
Well, you get through the season. You've had one incredible year. What did you learn about this team after you finished this season?
We're very smart kids, and also trust your assistant coaches. In any type of organization, you get the right support staff in place, and then you let them do their jobs. And I was really blessed with just incredible assistant coaches, a wealth of experience, big personalities that we had to manage a little bit sometimes, but they were focused on the kids, they were focused on winning, and they'd put their egos aside a little bit and did what was best for the kids. And I trusted my assistants. I learned that these kids are very smart. They're not afraid to really learn and be coached. A lot of kids this age, especially if they're very athletic, things come so easy to them, they don't allow themselves to be coached to get better. And some of our best players are our most coachable players. We could coach these kids pretty hard, the right way, and they responded. They're tough, they're smart, incredibly talented. We've got some kids that have a very high level of athleticism for this age. I joke around. I got one kid that looks like Eric Dickerson when he runs, and I've got another kid that looks like Billy Sims. If you remember Billy Sims from that kind of run style. We've got 6 kids that would be the star on a lot of teams, and they put their egos aside. They did what's best for the team. They understood they didn't always get the ball. And the other thing I learned is, and this is true at every level, blocking and tackling are fundamental at every level. And we spent a lot of time at the beginning focusing on that. I had people asking me, why are you focusing on that? Shouldn't you be running plays? Shouldn't you be doing this? But it comes down to if you can block and you can tackle, everything else is easier. And if you can't block and you can't tackle, you're not going to win many ball games. So we really focused on that. We worked on it every day throughout the season. And then we were able to sprinkle in. Our offense, it multiple sets. We could change on the fly. We could call silent audibles, and then our defense, we could shift from our regular 4-4 base to a 6-2 to a firewall spread defense with just a hand signal. And these are 6, 7, 8-year-olds. I could call blitzes by position. I could call a twist.
Yep.
We had an Alcoa twist, AA gap twist, and Freebird. Everything's based on the eagle. And these kids soaked it up. But again, get good assistants, trust them to do their job, let them do their job, and let the kids have a great time.
Yeah, I remember coming early in the season to a practice, and one of the things you spoke with me about after the practice was hey, they're picking up concepts and they're picking up plays a lot quicker than I anticipated, and it's allowed me to be able to really kind of open things up for them. And you see now, because of that, the success they had, and then you talk about the fundamentals of blocking and tackling, and sometimes those things can get, for a kid that age, a little redundant, a little repetitive in practice. Yeah. But then you look at the college, you look at the NFL level, and you still see players that will lower the shoulder and just think that a hard hit with the shoulder is going to take a player down, and a lot of times the player just bounces off and keeps going. So the importance of wrapping up is so fundamental, and it may sound so simple, but a lot of players still don't do it, and it's the reason you've got to work on it. But Ken, I'm going to turn it over to Scott now, as he's got a question for you. And just to remind both of you, make sure you're leaning in awful close to that mic so everybody can listen in. But Scott, you go ahead.
All right, Kent, just wanted to ask you about the championship game against Austin East, coming up against a very well-coached team and a very strong team in this tournament. What was your game plan coming into that game?
We've been preparing for them for several weeks. We knew it was probably going to be us and them. They only gave up one touchdown all year. They were blowing teams out by multiple touchdowns. We got film. We would spend Sunday night studying our game and then their game, putting together a plan. And again, go back to my assistants. I got Leon and Rick with years and years of experience. We had Eli Owens with kind of that youthful perspective about things. Jordan Best, I was over at his house every Sunday night dissecting things. Justin spent 4 years as an Alcoa offensive lineman. We had all these things working in our favor. Chad Smith, who everybody from Alcoa knows, another guy with tons of experience and a different perspective. So we put together a plan because they ran a few things out of multiple sets. They had a lead blocker that they used a lot. It kind of tipped off what they were doing. They always threw to one certain side. They had they'd shoot a screen and a 9 route on the same side and then drag the tight end across. So we had that planned out. We switched our defense up from a sky concept to a man concept to help with any confusion. We changed our defensive ends, what they were doing, to put a little pressure. And then as far as the defense on offense, we were able to create mismatches by shifting into overloads, into our beast formation. We didn't even have to go into our diamond formation. So we had planned for it, prepared for it. And the other thing is, and Coach Nick says this all the time, the other team will break before we break. Right. We really focus on disciplining our kids and doing things the right way. And when the more pressure hits you, it's the ones that have been hardened to be disciplined and do things the right way that won't break. And a real telltale sign is at halftime, they'd never been behind in the first quarter. They'd never been behind in the second quarter. We're up 13-0. They were shaking. And I told our kids at halftime, I said, they're almost ready to break. First series, the third quarter, they fumble in the backfield, and we get it. The quarterback takes his helmet off and throws it. The coach of the team is pitching a fit, going ballistic, cussing up one side and down the other. Yeah. And I told our guys, so we got them. We got them. So that's it. Good scouting, great assistant coaches, talented kids, fundamentals, being disciplined, and just keep pounding away until the other team breaks.
So. Ken, you were talking about them breaking before we do, and like you said, Coach Nick says that, teaching them at this early level. And I think another great just kind of example is, I had an opportunity recently to talk to Coach Ben Fox of the Maryville College Scots, and one of the things Coach Fox said to me was there's a difference between emotional players and intense players. And he said you have to understand the difference. And he said emotional players end up making stupid plays, but intense players know what it means to lock in, focus on the task at hand, and not letting kind of the waves of the game affect you. And so being able to just continue to stay locked in. And it sounds like that's what you did with the team, and that's how they were able to kind of stay poised, do what they needed to do, and come away with the championship trophy. But Coach, I want to shift gears now, because we had you on a few weeks ago when we talked about the Battle of Pistol Creek, and we were talking about leading into that Maryville-Alcoa matchup and kind of what we could expect, what your thoughts were on the matchup as well. But now we look back on it, and the Tornadoes come away with a victory, a team that I would say many predicted to lose to the Rebels. And so the Alcoa Tornadoes were the underdogs, but they came out victorious. How great does it feel to come away with that victory, and kind of what did you take away from that big-time matchup?
Well, a lot of people don't realize in the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, Alcoa's got 2-1 advantage over Maryville. Mm-hmm. I was watching them at practice the week before, and you could tell they had a relaxed sense of confidence going into that game. They'd played Ravenwood, they'd played Greenville, they'd played West, and they felt good. And, Maryville had a huge offensive line, and that concerns people a little bit, but they kept their composure, they kept their poise. They made plays when they had to. You know, you got a winner at quarterback. You've got, you know, a fantastic overall athlete at tight end and linebacker. You got these other kids sprinkled in that can make plays when they need to. But I think it came down to being well coached, well disciplined, and your players making plays when they had to. You know, like you remember Eli Graff's run around the end there at the end. I don't know if you saw it or not, but Eli always blocked 2 people on that play. 2.
Yeah.
And a lot of those details like that. It's that unselfishness of your great players that I think makes a lot of the difference. It's that willingness. You know, everybody's ready to win on game day. Are you ready to win at a 6 a.m. workout during the school? Are you ready to win when it's 100 degrees and it's 2 months away from the summertime for the game that starts? That's what separates people. And it's Maryville's a great program, and anytime you get a win over them, it's something to celebrate and enjoy. And it was very sweet because, like I said, a lot of people were predicting 42-17 and all this kind of stuff. But the Alcoa kids came through. The coaching staff had a great game plan. They stuck with it, and just incredibly proud. You know, we're going back to the championship game that we had. I thought of something a minute ago.
Yeah.
The team we were playing had given up 1 touchdown all year. We scored 3 in one game on them.
Wow.
And we had another one called back that shouldn't have been called back, but I didn't say anything. And on top of that, that team had also shut out. Not only had they shut out all their opponents, but they had scored, I think, except for one game, over 35 points a game. We shut them out.
Yeah.
And we shut them out. You know, the effort our kids put into that game and the quality of competition they played. There's some great kids on that team. There were some big kids on that team that I'm not saying anything, but they hadn't been on that team earlier in the season. So. You know, they were on that team Saturday. I don't know where they came from, but our kids stepped up. They weren't scared. They did exactly what we coached them to do. I mean, they were tackling low. They were wrapping up. They were playing, you know, fast, physical, you know, Alcoa football. And they were disciplined. There was a couple times they tried to get us. Lose our composure by getting chippy. Our kids, for the most part, you know, had their eyes focused on the goal and understood that was the first sign of them breaking. So I could talk about my kids all day. I'm very proud of them. I'm sorry I got off on a tangent.
No, you're good. Well, and the thing is, too, you know, people wonder why Alcoa is so successful every single year at the high school level. And I think this is just a great example. As it starts at this age, the discipline, the dedication, not only by the players, but you have to have great coaches from the bottom to the top that are willing to develop and work with these young men, take the time out of their days, and also the parents who do the same. So we certainly appreciate you both. But Kent, now we want to start moving to that next segment. So we want to call up all of the 8U football team that showed up tonight, and we're going to bring them up here for a minute and let you say a little bit about each one of them.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. So, guys, we're going to have you come up here to the stage. I think they're directing you now. So make your way up and come up into the front of the table. Everybody line up in front of the table for me. All right, so we have them coming up now. Line up and face that way for me. All right, I think we're getting them now. So, Kent, I'm going to let you take it away. You're going to introduce and talk about each of them before we get a break.
All right. At the end there, that's Sage. Sage is just a first grader. Sage really came on at the end of the year, and we'll tell you right now, especially by the end of the year with his hip movements, he's going to end up being probably a DB in high school, a cornerback. Keelan is beside him. Keelan is an incredible natural athlete, runs like Billy Sims. That's the first thing I think about when he does some things is, you know, Billy Sims in the late 70s from Oklahoma, early 80s NFL. Just a great kid, a great player. Hudson is number 1 over here. Hudson has a very high football IQ for his age. He's tough, he's physical, but the big thing is we can do a lot with him. Like our passing game, a lot of our passing game is dictated on Hudson giving us feedback on what's open. And Jordan is good enough where he can call it on the fly and make teams pay for it. And beside him is Gabriel. This is Gabriel's first year playing tackle football. Gabriel is a fantastic kid. I think he's been student of the month at Alcoa. Just a great athlete. His best years are ahead of him. He's gonna be another kid that is gonna he'll be better as he goes along. Beside him looks like the last one is a Mally. Mally, I call him my little Wolverine. Mally's he's a fullback, and his old fullback, you know, they're near and dear to my heart. But you know, Mally blocks well for us. I mean, Mally will decleat you if you're not looking. He really helps set the tone physically. He runs in up the middle for us. He covers our corner, and he has some long touchdown runs for us this year. Beside him is Lucas. I call him 2'9" because he runs like Eric Dickerson. He's got that long stride. It looks graceful. It looks like he's not even trying. He's just out distancing people. Plays physical on defense. Him and Key are my outside linebackers. My outside linebackers dictate a lot of what we do. Great kid, very coachable. He's a pleasure to be around. Beside him is Noah Chapman. Now Noah is very athletic, very fast. As you can tell, he's long. We could do a lot with him. I think we had at least 2, maybe 3 reverses. He scored on like 60-yard touchdowns this year when they tried to focus on Lucas and Key too much. Played defensive end for us, made some real big tackles in championship game. Great kid. Beside him is our quarterback. Quarterback is Q. Q also plays corner for us. Q's very, very football smart. We put a lot on him. I mean, again, Jordan calling the offensive plays from the sideline. Sometimes he just uses hand signals, changing formation on the fly. And Q takes all that, takes a lot of responsibility. We can be hard on him to make the right decision, takes responsibility. So super proud of him. He had a big touchdown pass in the championship game too. Beside him is Silas, and Silas is our center. Now, here's the thing. At any level, especially at this level, the snap is the most important thing. You could have Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson back there, but if you fumble the snap, it's not doing any good. So we made snapping a priority. You know, the centers get first choice of jerseys. They get first choice of everything, and we're going to love on our O-line, right? So Silas did a real good job for us in the year, shotgun under the center, got better every week, and I don't remember a bad snap in the last 2 playoff games. Beside him is LJ. LJ's favorite player is Ray Lewis. He plays tackle for us, and LJ's very athletic for an offensive lineman. We use him to pull a lot. He does a really good job for us on that. He plays some defensive tackle for us, but I bet as he matures and grows, probably more into a linebacker, maybe or a really, really high-level pulling guard at the high school level. Beside him is Knox. Knox is he's a 3rd grader. He played D-back for us. Sometimes I put him at my monster. He also ran for us some too, and especially on our extra points, got in the end zone a few times. He's got real, real good hip movement when he runs, and he's another kid that's just a joy to be around. Yeah. Beside him is Braxton, and Braxton came up later. Braxton is very explosive. We put him at we're trying to find position for him because he's very fast for his size, and he's very explosive. So we ended up putting him at guard. He was blowing guys off 5 yards off the ball. And at defensive tackle, he was shooting in the backfield. And then at the championship game, they broke one on us. Now, he ran a kid down all the way from the defensive tackle spot and made a touchdown-saving tackle at the end. So we're proud of him. Beside him is Corey. Corey is he's one of our offensive defensive linemen. Corey's a great kid. He got better all throughout the year. Took up a lot of space for us on the defensive line. On the offensive line, got a real good push for us. And Corey's another kid that once he's going to keep growing, he's going to keep getting bigger. But what will happen is as he gets bigger, he'll learn to play with a lower pad level. And for his size, when he gets that lower pad level, he's another one of those kids will be better in high school than he is now. Beside him is Greg. And Greg plays outside linebacker for us. He plays wide receiver for us some. Greg's also a state champion wrestler for his age group. So he's another one of those kids that, and this is a plug real quick, every football player should wrestle. Okay? Every football player should wrestle. I'm an old wrestling coach, and wrestling's, make any football player better. And Greg's wrestling helped him on the football field this year. Beside him is Rio. Rio's one of those kids. He had an injury early, but it started coming back later on. Rio is his first year playing football. We could play him in a lot of different positions, and wherever we put him, he did his best job for us. We had to put him at center sometimes. We had to put him at defensive end. We'd plug him in anywhere. He never complained. He never said, "Coach, I'm just learning this position." He did what was best for the team, and that's why I was just super proud of him for that. But these are our kids, you guys.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's give a round of applause to the Super Bowl champs, Alcoa AU. All right, awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming up here with us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got a few of these 8U players who are going to stay up here with Scott and I, and we're going to ask them a few fun little questions. We'll be back in a moment.
Okay. Noah.
All right, welcome back into Tornado Live. I've got a few special guests up here. It's some of the players from the Alcoa 8U Super Bowl championship team. Super excited to have these boys up here. We just talked a little bit about the fun we're going to have. We've got some fun questions laid out for them. We're going to ask you a question. We're going to go down the line, and they're each going to answer, and we'll go from there. So we're going to start with this one. What do you like most about football?
I like most about football is that just having fun with some friends, winning, really. Having fun with some friends, getting to know some new friends, and just have fun.
Now leave it to the mic.
My favorite part about football is hitting.
My favorite part is about most my favorite part about Coach Kent is helping us to do, and he's a very good coach. He's very good. That's why we are a good family, and that's why we that's all.
All right, you're good.
My favorite part is defense because I like just to hit people when I'm mad.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's a good way to do it. Take it out on the field, right? All right, next question. What was your favorite play this season? Whether it was for you or someone else made it, what was your favorite play of the season?
My favorite play of the season was Bear because I made up the name, really. So.
All right. What was your favorite play?
My favorite play was the halfback pass.
Keelan, what was your favorite play?
My favorite play was did we do full lightning?
Yeah.
We did full lightning and I like to Lucas's what do you call it again? Okay, that's it. That's it. Well, I'm forgetting.
All right, what was your favorite play?
My favorite play was my first 70-yard run.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Next question. Whether it's college or NFL, or as they asked me at the break, can we say both? So, yes, you can say both if you want. Who's your favorite football team?
For college, it would be Michigan. And for NFL, it would be probably the Titans or the Vikings.
All right.
My college favorite team is Tennessee, and my NFL is Dolphins.
All right.
And my college football team is Tennessee too, and my NFL team is the Steelers.
My favorite college team is Ohio State. My favorite NFL team is the Steelers.
Oh, so we got a little rivalry already brewing up here. Michigan and Ohio State. Okay. All right. And then, Scott, I'm going to let you give the final question for him.
All right, guys. Every Friday night, you get to see some great football going on. Who is your favorite Alcoa football player?
It would be Eli Owens, of course.
So he might be in trouble when he got home if he switched that one up.
I had to think a long time about that.
Mine is Eli Owens.
Mine is Eli Owens and Eli Gaff.
My favorite is Eli Owens.
All right. So some awesome answers by these young men. And, guys, thanks for taking the time. Let's give them a round of applause. They did a great job. All right, and so now the final thing we've got to do after every game is break it down. So we're going to do the same thing in our interview. We're going to get together, and Silas, you're going to lead us, right? All right.
Family on 3. 1, 2, 3. Family!
All right, that was the 8U team. We're going to take a break. Scott and I will be back in a moment to talk playoffs and what to expect. All right, welcome back into Tornado Live as we, in our final segment, talk a little bit about the playoffs. And the first thing we're going to talk about, Scott, is what the Tornadoes can look forward to in the 3A bracket.
All right, Heath, thank you. Looking at 3A coming up, this is between Region 1 and Region 2 teams. Unicoi County will be hosting Union. Kingston will be hosting Gatlinburg-Pittman. Johnson County host Austin East, and your Alcoa Tornadoes will host Pigeon Forge.
All right, so that's kind of what the top of the bracket looks like. Something else to kind of keep an eye on, you know, is obviously, we anticipate the Tornadoes being able to kind of move throughout each round. And if they do, the first 3 rounds of the playoffs will be at home, with the 4th round being on the road, and in that 5th round being the state championship. Now, the 4th round, who are they going to play? That's a great question. Taking a look at some of these teams, I think right now, Scott, 2 of the potentials that I see is you've got 7-3 Meigs County in that part of the bracket. You've also got a 9-1 Sequatchie County as well. I could very well see those 2 teams meeting right before, and in the winner of that one being the one we will travel and face in the semifinals.
Right, Heath, but I also would not let the record fool you. Keep an eye on Giles County.
And a team that we have visited before, so we'll find out. Hopefully, the closer the better.
Yes.
That whichever team is closer will be the one hopefully we play, since we do have to travel. We'll find out. But Scott, let's take a look for a minute, just kind of the broader perspective here in the county of who some of the other county teams will be playing to start off their road in the playoffs.
All right, Heath, thank you. Eagleton Academy, in what I believe just their 2nd or 3rd year, they are in the playoffs again. They are going to be traveling to Bledsoe County. Again, Pigeon Forge comes to Alcoa, and just down the road a little bit, Maryville will be hosting William Blount.
Yeah, so that's an intriguing matchup. A team that, a little while back, William Blount and Maryville used to play in the regular season. They stopped playing. William Blount, I believe, moved regions, and now the Governors will have to face the Rebels in the first round of the playoffs. So it's certainly not going to be an easy road, and it'll be a tough test for them. But at least for both teams, the travel is not too bad. They'll get to stay pretty close to each other. So we'll see what happens there. Certainly best of luck to Eagleton. Their 2nd varsity season, making the playoffs, their first full class this year, having freshmen through seniors. And then, Scott, for next season, the Tornadoes will be moving to 4A football. So let's kind of take a futuristic look. What does that 4A bracket look like this season?
It's going to be really interesting this time around, as Greenville will be hosting Knox Carter. A team closer to my heart, that's my alma mater, is Gibbs hosts Cherokee. That's a really interesting game to me. Knox Fulton's going to be traveling to Elizabethton. Northview, that we've known for a few years back, and when they were in our region, will be traveling up to Anderson County, and then Loudon will be hosting Stone Memorial.
All right. Well, Scott, the final thing when it comes to playoffs I wanted to talk to you about is just out of all of the playoff brackets, what are the 5 most intriguing matchups coming into round 1?
We'll start off with Knoxville Halls playing Morristown West at home. Halls has got a deadly offense, but will they be able to get past Keegan Covington and Ian Carr, who anchor the Trojan defense? And it's going to be a really good game. Watch out for that one.
All right, awesome. What's the next one?
Next one we'll go with Bearden and Jefferson County. Records are very similar. Bearden, though, is taking on a really interesting non-region lineup, as they had wins against West and Oak Ridge this year, falling to Anderson County and also Alcoa. But again, these teams, Coach Spencer Riley and his Patriots, are going to be ready for the Bulldogs of Bearden.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting game. I mean, you think about the Bearden Bulldogs, I almost feel like a little Jekyll, little Hyde throughout this season, as you've seen them be a really tough matchup for some teams. They took Alcoa down to the wire. The Tornadoes were able to pull out a field goal victory there. But then you look at how they played against Maryville, and it was a totally different team. Right. Obviously, the quarterback's going to play a big factor into that. Their young sophomore quarterback, who was the #1 quarterback out of the state of Mississippi prior to transferring to Bearden. But I'm certainly curious to see what Bearden team shows up as they begin the playoff times. All right, what's the next one on the list?
Well, next one on the list to me is Gibbs and Cherokee. Coach Brad Turner's high-flying Eagles have a very fast, deadly offense. They can score quickly on you. However, they're going to be matched by the Chiefs offense, who can do it just as fast and just as well. Watch for that one to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, and you think about Gibbs, I mean, this is a team that was undefeated prior to facing Anderson County in the region, and that one kind of determining who was going to be 1, who was going to be 2, a really good Anderson County team. That was the first time I feel like Gibbs had really met some hard-fought resistance, and Anderson was really kind of able to run up the score on him. So if you're Cherokee, you kind of look at that blueprint of what it's going to take to beat the Eagles. We'll certainly find out on Friday night who comes out on top. What's next?
Next up, Elizabethton and Fulton. I think that's going to be a really interesting game. Can Rhett Slagle and the Cyclones passing game continue against a good, speedy, especially in the back, defense from the Falcons?
All right, and then the final one you've got there on the list.
That one is Oak Ridge and Ray County. I've watched Oak Ridge play quite a few times this year. They look good at times, but a lot of times it turns out they're their own worst enemy at times. Can they avoid costly penalties in key situations?
All right, so we'll certainly find out. We'll keep you updated throughout the night on Friday on the broadcast, as we'll be giving you those updates of scores from around the area. As a reminder, we'll send out another reminder tomorrow. The broadcast for high school football for Alcoa will be on NFHS and on the Podbean app. It will not be on YouTube throughout the playoffs due to the deal that NFHS and the TSSAA have. It will only be on that platform for video, so just make sure you're aware of that. But Scott, we flipped the script, and as we wrap things up, we talk about the Tornadoes here as we kind of get into the final part of this show. So Alcoa, a huge win last week to wrap up the regular season. It came down to the final game of the season to determine the region championship. The Tornadoes get their 13th consecutive, their 65th consecutive region win, and they also get their 38th region/district title in school history as well. Your thoughts on that performance from Alcoa?
It started out a little different than what we've seen before. Kingston came in, hit Alcoa quickly, a 70-yard run for a touchdown in just the first, or about probably the second, I think, play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think really woke Alcoa up. They had played, this was their third game in 8 days, so they looked just a tad slow or sluggish. But when that happened, Alcoa came out and just said, we're going to put this game away quickly, and they did.
Yeah, they did. And a lot of young players got opportunities later in that game. It was a real fun one for us to watch as we got to see some young guys getting some opportunities. Jamarius Abuhanyo was our PrintFX Player of the Week after having 2 receptions for 2 touchdowns. Everything he threw to him ended up in the end zone. So congratulations to him on that, and the Tornadoes on getting the region championship. That gives them the 1 seed, and that is why they will be at home on Friday night, and if things go our way, we'll be at home for a little while this playoff season before we have to travel for potentially the final 2 rounds. But, Scott, we wrap up the show now. A great crew today. It was awesome having Kent Johnson on the show and then being also able to get these players on. It's always fun to talk to them. It was really cool to hear some of their answers. Really fun to hear them. But man, what a performance from them this season. And hopefully later in the year, maybe we can get the 10U team on as well to talk their championship.
That'd be really nice. I'd like to do that.
Absolutely. Well, guys, make sure you tune in on Friday night on the NFHS Network or the Podbean app. We'll give you social media updates throughout the night on 2i Sports as well. But thanks so much for tuning in to Tornado Live, brought to you by Black Horse Pub and Brewery. We appreciate them supporting this cause, and we appreciate you listening. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, so long, good night, and yes, that just happened.